My friend sent these to me, so I have no idea what I'm reading today. Hello everybody, and welcome to a new series that I've been wanting to start for a while, kind of a spiritual successor to Console Peasant Quotes. We're going to open the variety to pretty much everything and kind of enjoy the internet with the people that are on it. I'm not sure what to call this series yet. I'm thinking Internet Idiots, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say idiots on YouTube, so maybe we'll just go with something original. Internidiots. Today, we're going to scour Reddit. This one is titled, "My dad is trying to force my uncontrollable stepsister on my trip, and I told him I'd never forgive him." I, 17F, am graduating, and my friends and I have already planned a trip to a cabin for the summer before we start college. I've been a babysitter since I was 13, so I've saved up a considerable amount of money. When I was 15, my dad got remarried about a year and a half after my mom passed away. My dad's wife had a 13-year-old daughter, and as soon as we moved in together, they started to push her off on me and force us to do everything together. I didn't like my stepsister. She's always throwing tantrums if she doesn't get what she wants. She's spoiled to the point that at my 16th birthday, she got her own special cake so she wouldn't feel left out. And she also blew out the candles on my cake, and when I complained, my dad told me, "It's time to grow up. Being a sister is about sharing things." I told him I didn't have a sister, and I guess she overheard that and she went on a rampage. The party was ruined. I distanced myself more from them after that. I'm forced to either take her with me to places or stay home with her if I can't take her, or my dad or my dad's wife can't watch her or don't want to deal with her. Imagine everything I said she does with my dad and his wife onto a 15 to 17-year-old me. I was forced to take her bowling with me, and she would not stop trying to dig her hands into the part where the balls come out, and she tried running down the lane. So I had to take her home, and my night was ruined. This happens a lot, but they don't care. I've tried to keep this trip a secret from her, but when I was in my room on the phone talking about it over pizza and music, I found out she snuck in and hid in the closet and was eavesdropping. She burst out asking if she could come, and I told her no and to get out. She started stomping her feet, and she ran out. My friends begged me not to invite her. My dad called me downstairs and asked if she could go because she could use a vacation, and I told him I'm not taking her. They can take her on a vacation, but I'm not watching her for almost 3 weeks alone. My dad's wife called me selfish and that my dad was paying for a portion of it anyway, and if Lily doesn't get to go, then I don't get to go. I told her that she doesn't have a say in any of this. She's not my mom, and to stop forcing her child on me when she created what she is. Oh, shit. Lily starts yelling at me about not being a big sister, and I don't want to spend time with her. I snap and tell her I don't. She ran away crying, and my dad said he won't pay for the rest of my trip if I don't take her. So I told him if he does that, I will not be talking to him anymore, nor will I forgive him for it. He said I was being dramatic and that she isn't that bad. So I grabbed a bag and went to my aunt's house, my mom's sister, and I told her what happened. She said that she would put up what he took away, and when I go to college, I can stay with her. I told my dad what I was doing, and he blew up at me and said I was being a brat, and they're not family now, and not my aunt. I've actually met a lot of people who have told me that their parents are kind of absent, and whether it be like parents or step-parents or whatever, and there's like other kids in the mix, and then the oldest ends up having to be the parent while the parent is, generally off working all the time to support the large family. It's a bit of a shame, most of the time I'll say, that, a parent ends up a single parent, they have multiple kids, they maybe can't even afford to purchase a babysitter, so the responsibility falls on the oldest, and God forbid there's more than just like 2 kids. This situation does not feel like that at all to me. It feels like the parents are still children and they're having their vacation all the time and they're just putting their burdens on this kid. Now, obviously, we're only getting one side of the story here, right? We're getting a 17-year-old girl's side of the story, and, 17-year-old girls can overblow certain things. So let's just take her at face value and say that this is happening. You have this 15-year-old, 13 to 15-year-old girl who is a pain in the ass all the time, has been spoiled by her mother, and then she gets with the father, and now this is a family, but no one's taking care of the kid except for her. Anytime that the kid blows up, we pass responsibility off to the oldest. She's the big sister now. She needs to take responsibility. That's not right, man. It's one thing, like, for me, like, if I was at a birthday and it was my birthday and I had, like, a little stepbrother, and let's say I didn't even like him very much, but, you know, he's a kid. Like, I don't care about blowing out the candles. That's just not me. I'm not everybody. There's some people that's a big deal. That is your wish, right? Your birthday wish. So maybe you do want to blow that shit out. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, who cares? But, bro, you already got a cake. Kick that little ass. What are you talking about? You don't need my cake too. I think the biggest pain is, like, obviously the vacation. You know, she wants to go off with her friends, and she knows that this kid is a burden. You know, if it were me and I knew the same thing, like my little stepbrother, stepsister is a pain in the ass to deal with. No, I'm not going to take her on this trip. She doesn't listen. She doesn't listen to me. And what kind of parent are you to sit there and think that, like, I'm going to go off on a vacation with some friends and I'm going to college next year. You know, we're going to go wild, you know? Why am I going to bring this little kid and now ruin all my fun, especially if, like, I can't watch her the whole time? What if she runs off and gets hit? Now you're going to hate me for the rest of my life because you were an irresponsible parent who dropped your burdens off on me. No, that's a bad situation. 100% go live with your aunt. 100% get out of that house. They need to take responsibility for their shit. And that little shit is their shit. Now, like I said, I don't know what my friend sent me here. I asked him to send me some Reddits that he thought would be fun, and then I would do this kind of thing. So I don't know what to expect. And I'll say with that first one, it was kind of a softball, just given that it's like pretty clear cut. We know what's going on. So let's move on to the next one and see what we got. Am I the asshole for going home early on a family vacation after my mother-in-law consistently invaded my privacy? I, 38 male, am the solo breadwinner of this house. I have a wife, 35 female, and a daughter, 5 female. Me and my wife have been planning this family vacation to Venice for months. For context, my daughter is very little, and she needs constant attention or she'll get into trouble. Venice has always been my wife's idea of a romantic city, so it's been her dream to go there. However, we can't just leave our daughter at home. We initially wanted to leave her at my... He did mother-in-law, but he did M-I-L-S, and I almost thought my MILF's house. Sorry. We initially wanted to leave her at my Mills house, but she wanted to come with us, and my Mill said that it was her dream to visit too. My wife was very supportive of this idea, but I was more reluctant. My wife planned everything, booking the hotels and the restaurants. However, to my dismay, she booked one room of 2 queens instead of 2 rooms with 2 kings. I planned this to be a romantic getaway, and I did not want my daughter in the room with us. We could easily afford 2 rooms, but my wife wanted to keep an eye on her as well. To make matters worse, my mother-in-law was constantly in my space. She also had to share all my wife's expensive products, face wash, shampoo, lotion, etc. My daughter likes to sit in our bed when me and my wife are gone into the city, and I come back to see my mother-in-law was sitting on our bed too. It was very unhygienic to me, and I don't like that she was sitting on the bed that me and my wife share, as I'm a very private person. She also rummaged through our suitcases looking for a hair tie, and it really irked me that she did so without asking me. I don't like the thought of her looking through our stuff when we're gone, so I locked it. The final straw was when I woke up in the morning. I saw that mother-in-law has, yet again, forgotten something. For the last few days, she's been sharing the same toothpaste as me and my wife. I don't like the thought of her putting her toothbrush close to, or even on, the toothpaste nozzle. And I was ill the more I thought about it. Bro, I get that one too. I honestly do, but I mean, that made me laugh. I asked my mother-in-law if the only reason she came was to freeload off me and my wife, as she didn't pay for any of the expenses, hotel, amenities, food, only her own plane tickets. I said that I've asked her politely several times to stop using my wife's stuff, especially because I share it with her and it's very inappropriate. My mother-in-law was very upset and told my wife, and my wife screamed at me. I was very angry that the trip that I paid with my own money was now ruined, and I changed the date of my plane ticket and went straight home. My wife has called me several times afterwards, screaming at me and saying that our daughter is upset. I feel bad that our daughter is caught up in this situation. But it was really not acceptable what my mother-in-law did, and I had to set some boundaries before it got worse. My wife has her own card and enough money to stay there. I'm not sure about her plans about staying or not. I've been ignoring her calls to take some time for my own mental health. There is a final update on this. I just called my wife to deliver my sincere apology. As I'm writing this with heavy heart, she's blocked my number, and my mother-in-law informed me that she will be looking into divorce proceedings. I've never thought about this happening, and I'm at a loss of what to do. I've failed our family as a husband and a father. I'm not angry at my wife for this decision, but I still cling to the hope that I can turn this around. I'm about to lose the love of my life over a stupid mistake that I made. I was not rational when I stormed off. She did not deserve any of my attitude. I'm praying at this moment that after some time off and after I change myself for the better, she'll reconsider this divorce. I'm going to contact a therapist and marriage counseling after I post this. I feel myself spiraling, and I don't want to think how I ruined my life in the span of these next 48 hours. Wow, okay. So there's a few more variables in this one than there was in the last one, so we're going to do like two sides of a coin kind of thing, and let's start on his side. So you've got this guy. He's the main breadwinner of the house, according to him. He makes the most money, and he decided that he wanted to do a family trip, right? And the mother-in-law wants to go. Fair. Okay, that's fine. That actually helps out a little bit because you can watch the daughter while I'm having the romantic getaway of my wife's dreams out in Venice, right? That's great. Thank you so much. But then she shows up and she's not really doing much other than rummaging through my shit. Nah. You know, if you ask a few times too, if you're like, hey, I don't appreciate that you use my stuff, you know, if you don't mind, like go out into a market, grab some toothpaste. They have it here in Venice too. The people in Venice, they brush their teeth. They use deodorant, you know, face wash and all that. Like, I don't know. If it's my wife's stuff and she doesn't care, that's fine. But if I share toothpaste with my wife and you're using my toothpaste, I would bring it up at dinner, dude. Like in the most inconvenient time, I'd be like, you know, hey, this is a really good meal. Let me get you a bite of that. You know, like pass it over to her. And she's like, whoa, dude, like why'd you just lick the, well, whatever. We share toothpaste, right? It's no different. Oh, is that weird? So I agree. Maybe let's not do that anymore. Because it's weird, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I would have at least brought it up in front of everyone too, so that everyone's like, "Hey, sorry." Now my wife is pissed off at me. Look, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to say, like, I don't like that. Let's have a discussion about boundaries here. So you're on this vacation. You want it to be romantic. Now let's go over to the other side of the coin, because I can understand that guys don't want to open up like that. They don't want to be like, hey, you know, I'm feeling kind of, you know, no one wants to do that shit, right? Because not only are you doing that as a man, but then you're also kind of ruining the vacation, or at least like this segment of it. You don't want to be that guy, you know, especially something that small. You're going to be like, whatever, I'll just choke on it and not worry about it and move on. You know, just grit my teeth and smash that shit down. Whatever. But then as it builds, that's the problem, right? It starts to build and now you're pissed off and now you're trying to control everything and make sure everything goes your way. Maybe no one else saw the other stuff. Maybe you didn't mention right off the bat that this was bothering you and, you know, all these things were bothering you. And then eventually it kind of bubbled up and then you burst and then you shared it. And now you feel you have confidently executed what you meant to say, but that's not the right way to do it. And so when he apologizes at the end, I almost wonder if there was more going on. I almost wonder if he did kind of start to blow up or try to take control or get kind of passive aggressive, and that air started to ruin the vacation in everyone else's mind, when for him the stuff leading up to that buildup was what was ruining the vacation. There just wasn't a lot of good communication there. The idea that the wife would be like, you know what, I'm divorcing him, makes me wonder if there was some sort of like outside influence from the mother-in-law. That's kind of strange, especially if she's on the vacation, just reaping all the benefits of the vacation. Laying in their bed, probably like eating food and whatever was what probably felt disgusting. You know, like just kind of taking advantage. And so now that she got pretty much everything she wanted, who cares about, what her daughter wants? What's best for my daughter now is like, get rid of this guy. He sucks. He won't just let me do whatever I want. So that's a hard one. And I don't really know what I would do in that situation just because of like how tight that feels. But you have a daughter and you really got to think about that. And if this situation was so big, let's put it in a vacuum and say this is so big that you'd get a divorce, there's something wrong automatically. I feel like there should be counseling on all sides here. And definitely do the marriage counseling, but bring your mother-in-law in and have her tell her side of the story to the therapist. Maybe the therapist can be like, hey, you are way too involved in these people's lives. You need to not use so much of their resources, and you need to fend for yourself. She's married to him, not you, And you don't just get what you want because your wife ended up with a guy with a lot of money. This next one's from a Reddit community called Today I Effed Up. The title is, Today I Effed Up by enraging the parents of my girlfriend by pretending not to know what a potato is. Okay. All right. Let me tell you that I've made a big mistake this evening. My girlfriend, who, let me tell you, is only my second girlfriend of all time, said I am invited to dinner with her and her parents. I was very aghast, nervous, and bashful to be invited to such a situation, but I knew it must be done. I already love how this guy's writing. I met them nicely, I should tell you, and it started off in a good way. The idea slapped my mind that I should do a comic bit to make a good impression and become known to them as a person who is amusing. When I saw that baked potatoes were served, I got the idea that it would be very good if I pretended that I did not know what a potato was, and that it would be funny. Well, let me tell you, backfired on my face. I'll tell you how. So first, when the potato became on my plate, I acted very interesting. I showed an expression on my face so as to seem that I was confused, astounded, in a restrained way, curious and interested. They did notice and seemed confused, but did not remark. So I asked, "This looks very interesting. What is this?" They stared at me, and the mother said, "It's a baked potato." And I was saying, "Oh, interesting. A baked..." What is it again? She said it like, "A potato." And I was like, "A potato. Oh, interesting. Never heard of a potato. It looks pretty good." And then they didn't see that I was clowning, but thought I really did not know what is a potato. So I knew I would be very shamed, humiliated, depressed, and disgusted if I admitted to making a bad joke. What I did was to act as if it was not a joke, but I committed to the act of pretending I didn't know what a potato is. They asked me very incredulous, did I really not know what a potato is? That I'd never heard of a potato? I went with it and I told them yes. I did not ever even hear of a potato. Not only had I never eaten a potato, I'd never heard the word potato. This went for a bit. My girlfriend was acting very confused and embarrassed by my effed up antics. And then the more insistent I was about not knowing what a potato is when them parents started thinking I did know what a potato is. Well, let me tell you, I had to commit 100% at this point. When I would not admit to knowing what a potato was, the father especially began to get annoyed. At one point, he said something like, "Enough is enough. You're effing with us. Admit it." And I said, "Sir, before today, I'd never heard of a potato. I still don't know what a potato is other than some kind of food. I don't know what to tell you." Well, let me tell you, he got very annoyed. I decided to take a bite of the potato. And when I did, I made a high-pitched noise and said, "Tastes very strange." This is when the father started yelling at me and the mother kept saying, "What are you doing?" And my girlfriend went to her room. Finally, the father said, "Get the fuck out of this house." God. I said it was irrational to treat me like this because I'd never heard of a potato before. Well, let me tell you, he didn't take that kindly. Now, in text message, I've been telling my girlfriend I really didn't know what a potato is. The only way I could ever get out of this situation is for them to buy that I don't know what a potato is. I wish I'd never started that, but I can't go back. And I think she's going to break up with me anyway. This one is just straight up weird. I'm actually not sure what to do with this one. Because it's like, I can understand having social anxiety and being worried that, the parents might not like you. So make a joke. And obviously it didn't hit. Wow, a potato? I've never seen a potato before. Everyone's quiet. All right. That didn't land. Just bring it back if something like that happens. Sorry, guys. I was just trying to be funny. I'm nervous. Jesus. That's a weird one. I can't offer any advice. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's weird. But it's going to be a fun anecdote for you and your future family. Don't tell it to anyone you're dating. Don't tell it to anyone you're dating. Unless you've been dating them for a while. And you're like, hey, you want to hear the most embarrassing story that has ever happened to me because I was being an idiot? You're just going to love that. Yeah. Yikes. This one's just a title. Am I the asshole for telling my husband I cheated on him even though I didn't? What context? What context? How angry do you have to be to I cheated on you, and then it actually never happened, and now he has that in his mind for the rest of his life? Even if you try to come back and you're like, look, I was just angry. I said it because I wanted to piss you off because I was mad. But the truth is I never cheated on you. Dude, in the back of his mind, he's never going to know if you're being honest now because you made a huge lie. That's one of those things where they say that if you get married and you're going through hard times, don't bring up divorce because the second you bring up divorce, now it's never off the table. You put it on the table and now it's there forever. So anytime shit gets bad, even if it gets worse than it was the day you brought that up, it ends up that's the final conclusion. That's the right conclusion now. Because we brought it up before over some dishes, and now we're actually talking about you having eyes for someone else. Oh God, now we're done, Why would you say that? I often recommend people in that kind of situation to seek some sort of therapy if it's anger management stuff, or just kind of just ask yourself, what is it that makes me destructive in that way? Right? Because this is some self-destructive behavior, but you got another person wrapped into it. What is it that when I feel like I'm backed up against the wall, I can't just apologize for something that I might have done, or try to sit down, take a breath, and say, hey, can we talk about this later when we have our minds back? I know being in the thick of emotion is really hard, but just sometimes, if you're gonna do one or the other, just sit down. Sit down and be like, hey, look, we're arguing and I'm going to start saying things that I don't mean. And it's not going to help. We're not going to get anywhere with it. So can we just take a step back? Go play a video game for a little bit. I'm going to go read a book or something, and I'll tell you when I'm ready. And if you're ready then too, that's awesome. And if not, then that's fine too. We'll come back together. Because again, the alternative is this, and now what do you do? Now anytime he's like, so who was it? If you guys even stay together, who was it? And you're like, it literally was no one. I made that up. It's why would you make that shit up, dude? So yeah, that's a wild one. And yes, the answer is yes, you are the asshole. That is a wrong thing to do. You don't do that. You're pretty much asking for the end of the relationship at that point. This next one was deleted by the user. Am I the asshole for not making my daughter apologize to her teacher again for her impromptu costume? 34, female. I'm the mother of 2 little girls, 6 and 4. My 6-year-old is funny, happy, and a curious little girl. She can be a bit rambunctious and ask questions or make comments without thinking about how they might impact people, which is something I'm trying to work on with her. My daughter loves her first grade teacher and talks about her all the time. Her teacher is actually pregnant, and she started to show. My daughter was excited when she learned that her teacher was having a baby, and has been asking me and my husband all kinds of questions about pregnancies and babies. Yay. Today, her school let kids dress up for Halloween. My daughter decided to dress up as Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter. I thought she'd have a fun day and that her costume wouldn't cause any trouble. I got a call from her principal around lunchtime. Apparently, my daughter stuck a basketball under her robes, walked up to her teacher, and said that she dressed up as her for Halloween. When I heard this, I started laughing. I know my daughter, and I knew she did this because she loves her teacher and probably meant it as a sweet gesture. Sadly, the teacher didn't take it this way. She said my daughter was being rude, disrespectful, and commenting on a pregnant woman's body. When we got to the school, my daughter was crying. She had a meeting with her teacher and principal, and my daughter apologized for the costume. The teacher was angry the entire time and kept telling my daughter how disrespectful she was and how disappointed she is. When we were leaving, the teacher told me that she expected another apology from my daughter in the morning. I said that my daughter's already apologized and that she clearly feels badly for hurting her feelings. I said she's learned her lesson and we don't need to continue beating her up for it. The teacher again started saying how disrespectful my daughter was and said that I needed to go. Again, my daughter was crying and very upset about the situation. I think she's learned that it's not appropriate to comment on a pregnant woman's changing body, and I didn't think she needed to press the point any further. I ended up taking her to get ice cream and we had a fun afternoon. But she's asked me several times if her teacher hates her and if she's a bad girl. I'm very upset and I'm not going to make her apologize again tomorrow. Am I the asshole? That's a good one. That's a really good one. In my opinion, I do not think you are. And I also think, too, that if you're going to be a teacher who's with kids around the age of 5 to 10, which is generally the age, 5 to 10 or 11 of elementary school kids, you got to know they say things that are rude. They point the truth out, at the very least the truth to their eyes. That's what they do. That's what kids do. They are very honest and they are brutal about it. They don't know any different. But imitation is also the purest form of flattery. So if this kid loves her teacher and decided in the middle of the day, I don't want to be this person from Harry Potter, I want to be my teacher, and puts a basketball up her, up her dress, and then walks up to her and says, hey, I'm you. Flip side of this, now you have this woman who is full of raging hormones, might have been her first pregnancy, let's say, right? So this is the first time this is ever happening to her. And, the emotional states can be very challenging, especially for the first time. There's a lot of confusion in that. So maybe if you know for a fact that, little kids are just this way, that's not hitting you right now. You see someone making fun of your body, it doesn't matter what age they are, that's going to piss you off. But you gotta take a step back, man. Like, having the kid apologize once, sure, Having the kid apologize multiple times just because you got upset over something that was supposed to be a form of flattery, that's where you need to really take a step back. That's messed up. I have no appreciation for that. If you're gonna work with kids, you gotta know how kids are. And even if the little kid was a brat and meant it to be hurtful, yeah, you give her detention, you tell her how it's wrong, she cries, and then she never does it again. Hopefully, never does it again. I don't know, just it felt so innocent for you to just be all pissed off like that. I don't think a teacher like that is a very good role model for kids. I'm not going to say that she needs to be removed or anything. And I also don't have anything to say about being pregnant, working around children. I've had pregnant teachers my whole life and none of them were like that. So this is obviously it's an isolated thing, but no, I don't think you're in the wrong here. I think you were absolutely right to show your daughter that some people don't appreciate certain jokes, but that you got to know that the intention came from, a pure heart. You didn't do it out of malice. You didn't try to hurt her. You were just being a kid, and kids are kids. So what are you going to do? I think especially too, it'd be kind of funny if one day her kid is in class and does something similar. I think that would be a really good wake up call for her. Her kid ends up doing something similar. And then she's like, whoa, come on, oh, I think that'd be kind of good. So yeah, let's hope for a bright future. All right, this is the last one. Boyfriend is mad at me because he opened up a relationship and got no dates. Am I the asshole for how he responded? Me and my boyfriend, both 37, have been dating for just over 3 years. Prior to this, I was single for 8 years. Overall, it's been a healthy relationship. We're both independent with our jobs/living situations. I do love spending time with him. I don't really have any complaints. However, something has startled me. It was back about 6 months ago. Him saying he wanted to open the relationship up, meaning going on dates and sleeping with other women. I've never been in a dynamic like this, so I naturally had a lot of questions. He told me that I could also go on dates and sleep with other men. Honestly, I was a little skeptical at first, but after doing some research and having time to think, I agreed. He had told me that if at any point I was uncomfortable, we could stop and close the relationship up again. One of the rules was, we don't discuss with each other what we're doing or who we're going on dates with, etc. I signed up on a dating app within a few days and had 500 plus likes, and it's been pretty steady since. So I started matching with people, texting, arranging dates. On average, I'd go on 1 or 2 dates a month. There are also some people in similar dynamics of open relationships that I'm going on dates with and sleeping with regularly. I quite like the fact that everything's non-committal. So even though I was skeptical at first, I'm enjoying the open relationship. As decided from before, I hadn't told my boyfriend anything about this. I was at my boyfriend's house the other day, and my phone was on the kitchen counter. He saw my notification and then proceeded to go through my phone and read messages, including going through the dating apps and whatnot. To say he was angry was an understatement. Turns out he opened the relationship up to take out on a date a younger colleague at his workplace, who misread the idea of a date as just a work lunch. He then openly told me that he wanted to see if it would work with her so he could ultimately leave me for her. However, she didn't want him, and so it seems like no one else did either. Oh no! In the last 6 months, he's had a few rough dates, but no one actually slept with him. I feel somewhat embarrassed for him. He demanded that we instantly close the relationship up, and I told him that maybe we should just end things or at least take a break. He was outraged and called me names, but he was the one who wanted this dynamic. So what's the problem? I left, and as I walked home, I contemplated fully breaking things off with him. He's been blowing up my phone, and I'm not sure what to say. Youch! Oh, man. Okay, well, no, that's his fault. This is all on him. He didn't even want an open relationship. That I think is the worst part. He didn't want an open relationship. He wanted to open the relationship so that he could pursue someone specifically. And it was also like in the rules, don't tell each other about who it is. And that was all for him. He wanted to go out with this girl at work and try to see if he could like get her and then leave you, right? That he literally said that, right? So as you're going out, having fun and like opening up your mind to this like new relationship style, and it seems to be clicking with you, like the whole non-committal thing seems to really work for you specifically as a person, I'm just like, this guy got everything he deserved. And it's just kind of funny. Poor bastard. Almost. It's his fault. I think him telling you to like delete all the apps and close out the relationship is him realizing that he doesn't have a lot on the horizon for himself anymore. And given that, he might be afraid to be alone. And so he's clinging to the one thing that he did have tightly, which is now even worse because now if you do close the relationship back up, man, you already know that he was looking for something else. He was looking to escape from you, realized that he couldn't get anything, so now he's going to tether himself to you like he loved you the whole time? Nah, no, that's not good. It's not real, you know? You obviously are going to do fine. I would say he led you down a path of self-discovery that was unintentional, but you figured yourself out pretty well and good, and you don't really need to stay with that. Best case, be friends. I don't know if he's the type that will actually want to, but best case, just be friends. And, hey, you're open now. So He can get in on the action sometimes, but he's not going to hold you that close anymore. That's what I would do if I were you. I'd just be like, sorry, dude. This was your idea, and I actually like the life you just, like, permitted us. I like it. You don't like it? That's not my deal. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this first episode of Internidiots. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is kind of like a successor to Console Peasant Quotes. So I'm not only going to do, like written stuff on Reddit or anything. I want to cover anything. So if you guys have any fun topics that you want me to explore, literally anything, send it my way. And yeah, we'll have fun together. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you next time.